In 1871, a massive fire tore through Chicago. It became known as the Great Chicago Fire. The flames destroyed more than 17,000 buildings and left over 100,000 people without homes. The city was devastated, but this disaster created a chance to start over. With so many buildings gone, Chicago became a place where new ideas could take shape. Architects and engineers had a clean slate, and they began to rethink how cities could be built. At that time, buildings could only go so high before their own weight became a problem. Builders used brick and stone, which meant the taller the building, the thicker and heavier the walls had to be. That was expensive, slow, and limited how high you could build. But in the 1880s, a new idea began to change everything, using metal, especially iron and steel, to hold up buildings instead of just stacking bricks. In 1885, Chicago became the first city in the world to try this idea. Architect William LeBaron Jenney designed the Home Insurance Building, which stood 10 stories tall. It was the first building to use a metal skeleton, kind of like a steel frame. The walls didn't hold the weight anymore, the frame did. That meant buildings could go higher, be lighter, and have more windows. This new method, called steel frame construction, is what we now think of as the beginning of the skyscraper. This was a huge step forward, and it happened in Chicago for a few important reasons. First, the city needed to rebuild quickly after the fire. Second, the ground in Chicago is soft and made of clay, so heavy brick buildings were hard to build safely, but steel frames were lighter and worked better with the soil. At the same time, new technology made it all possible. The invention of stronger steel, fireproof materials, and the elevator helped bring the skyscraper to life. Elevators were especially important. After all, people wouldn't want to walk up 10 or more flights of stairs. By the 1890s, a group of architects in Chicago were designing more of these tall buildings. They became known as the Chicago School of Architecture. One of the most famous architects was Louis Sullivan, who believed buildings should look simple and modern. He came up with the famous phrase, "form follows function," which meant buildings should be designed based on what they were meant to do, not just to look fancy. Sullivan's work helped define what a modern skyscraper should look like. Another major event was the 1893 World's Columbian Exposition, also known as the Chicago World's Fair. This was a huge event that showed off the latest ideas in science, architecture, and design. Although many of the buildings at the fair were made in traditional style, it brought together some of the best architects in the world and helped make Chicago famous as a place of innovation. The Masonic Temple building, built in 1891, was the tallest building in the world made entirely of bricks without a steel frame. Right next to it was the Reliance building, finished in 1895, which used steel framing and had a glass-covered front. It was one of the first buildings that looked like the skyscrapers we see today, with large windows and clean lines. These buildings were different. They weren't just tall. They looked modern. They had big windows, straight lines, and open space inside. Chicago had figured out how to go up without going wide, and cities around the world took notice. In the years that followed, other cities like New York also began building skyscrapers, but the ideas behind them, steel frames, curtain walls, elevators, and fireproofing all started in Chicago. Without these early experiments, the modern city skyline wouldn't exist. The skyscraper wasn't just a new type of building, it was a symbol of hope and progress. After being nearly destroyed by fire, Chicago didn't just rebuild. It became the birthplace of a whole new kind of city, and the way the world builds today still follows the ideas first tested in the Windy City.